So what does it mean to live in a space of choiceless surrender? It's great. You know what it is? It's peaceful. You know why? Because I don't know how it's going to turn out. But I know if I'm practicing living in a place of love and acceptance, peace and compassion, speaking the truth to the highest level I'm aware of it, I don't have to worry about how it comes out. And to be released from outcomes in your life is just magnificent. Because then, now that I'm not so concerned about how it's going to turn out, and I don't have so much interest in how it's going to turn out, I can watch how it's happening. Do you want to be the one lighting the wicks, or do you want to be the one watching the fireworks? I want to be the one watching the fireworks. I don't need to go, I did that. I decided that. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have done that. I'm glad I did that. I want to be the one that just lives in a way where I have to go, wow, wow, wow. You're amazing. I love you. You're incredible. I would have never seen that. Thank you. And because I don't live from a place of personal choice, other people living from a place of personal choice, it doesn't bother me. Because that's just where they're at. They don't have a space of, they're not in a space of enlightenment yet, that allows them to completely let go. And how do I know that? Because I was once that. I once lived my life completely from a place of personal choice. In fact, to be honest with you, personal choice is, in the end, what caused me to be in so much pain for all those years with my back. You know why? Because my personal choice was telling me, I don't want to be an intuitive. For so many years of my life, I had conversations with God saying, I don't want this knowing. Isn't that ironic? I don't want it. I don't want it. And you know why I said I don't want it? I wanted my life. I wanted my life. So I was choosing my life. It's very humbling to say that that's who I once was. I love him. I'm glad I'm not him anymore. But I love him, and he struggled. And then when he did start to accept his gift, okay, then whose responsibility did he think it was? His. So it made the pain worse. Because then it was all on me. Then it was this big responsibility, and metaphorically I was carrying this big cross around saying, oh my God, I'm so responsible. I know I have this gift, and you gave me this gift, and I have such a responsibility to do something with it, and oh my God, what am I going to do with it? So I started, putting all this energy into what am I going to do with it? What am I going to do with it? And God was like, why do you struggle? I gave you the gift. It's a gift. Why are you having such burden over a gift? Why don't you just unwrap it? So I finally unwrapped it and found out what it really was. And it was like, oh, this is meant to heal me. This is meant to take me to a point of no return. This is meant to help me be in this world without having to understand it. This is here to take away my choices. This is here to show who you are in my life so clearly that I would never choose anything else but what you want. To give, this gift was meant to show me that I can give free will back and say, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand the universe you've made. I believed it was something so small, and it's something beyond my comprehension. And because it's so beyond my comprehension, all the tools I have are very, very limited. And I can't trust them to tell me the truth about you anymore. So please, just use this gift to speak to me and talk to me and tell me, and use this gift to work through me and let me heal other people. And I know it's all you. And I know it's the force of life. And I know it's this new math, this new way of looking at the universe that's so much bigger and so much different and so unknown to me. But I'm not afraid anymore because I just know it's got to be you. I have to look at you a whole new way. I have to look at God a whole new way. I have to see God not as just a being, but a force, but as a mathematician, as a physicist, as an order. Do you know what a relief it was to stop seeing God as just a being and see it as an order? It became so much more tangible. It was real. It wasn't faith anymore. It was real. And the events that unfolded became undeniable, as we talked about last time, as you talked about last time. You couldn't deny it anymore. It was unknown, but undeniable. And when that happens, it isn't faith. It is. It is. And when you know something is, and you have undeniable proof that it is, why would you ever want the choice to believe anything different? Because I'm going to tell you the first thing free will gives you the ability to do, okay? It gives you the ability to not believe in God in a moment. It gives you the ability to believe that it isn't divine order, that God doesn't have it all handled, that that's just a mistake, that that's just a blip in this incredibly intricate divine lattice of life that God's weaving, that that's just a stitch God missed, see, and I caught it. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am completely convinced, because of my experience, my intimate experience with life on a daily basis, there are no mistakes. There's only misinterpretations of divinity. We want to believe there is, just like we wanted to believe the world was flat. We wanted to believe that everything revolved around the earth. We wanted to believe. These are silly notions, aren't they? We don't even believe these things anymore. They're just archaic to think these things anymore, right? I'm telling you, we're going to get to a point in consciousness as a group where we're going to look at an event and someone's going to go, oh, that was just an accident. And the majority of people are going to burst out in laughter. The notion of an accident is going to become antiquated. We're all going to be students in this practice going, wow, that happened. What did it mean? What can we gain from it? You know, we'll be so eager to know God's presence in every experience because that's what we're here to know. We're not here to choose what we want. We're not here to decide what we are. We already know what we are. We're God in form. We're God manifesting in form. We don't know any more than that, but we know. And isn't that enough? And for God's sake, what else would you ever want to be once you know you're that? Would you ever want to choose to be something less than that again? If you know you're that, would you ever want to choose to be less than that? To be separate? When you're getting information, when God's giving you events and enlightenment, and you're seeing it all weaving together into this amazing path that's leading you somewhere, and as you're leading in that direction, you're feeling better, and you're healing, and things are falling away from you, and you're feeling renewed and regenerated and healed. Do you ever want the decision? Do you ever want the ability to decide not to go that way? Yes or no? No. So can you understand why I can stand in front of you and say, I don't have free will any longer? It might have existed at one point, but I'm here to talk to you about where I'm at so that you can, on some level, know it exists. And God's way is better than your way. You just have to be ready to not understand it most of the time. Because your understanding is based in a very limited space of consciousness. You can't expect to understand the majority of the force's source of all creation. But when you're open to what you're meant to learn, what you're meant to see, what you're meant to experience, and the healing that it brings you, you'll never want the choice to live another way in your life. You'll never want the choice. So I gave my free will back and realized that there was no freedom in it. There was no freedom in it. And there was no real peace in it that lasted. Because on some level, whether I wanted to admit it or not, there was always fear. There was always tension. There was always anxiety. And that was doing yoga 5 days a week. And I live it. I live it, guys. I live the lifestyle I would bet more than most people, if not all. I live it. And it had a point where it didn't get any farther. I used my will to do everything I knew I was supposed to do. But as long as it was my will, there was still the ability to go, and that is gone. So I'm trying to teach you all a way to get to the place that I'm at without going through the illusion of, well, yeah, but I can choose to do all the right things. And when I don't choose to do the right things, these things happen. And I can just make better choices. And that's stepping stones. But at some point, if you just give up choosing and say, all right, what's in the highest good for me to eat? All right, God, just tell me what's in the highest good to eat. Just tell me. And then you start eating things, and you start eating things, and all of a sudden you start eating things, and you go, wow, I feel really good. And you start eating things, and you go, I feel not so good. Right? And as soon as you know that, and you give up free will, eating a lot of those things that make you feel not good, it's over. That's when you know you're letting go of free will. Because you know you've been enlightened. It's over. And I don't want to get into the next chapters, but when you come to that knowing about something, just put this in your pocket for next time. That's the end of a lifetime. That's the end of a conscious incarnation. Who you were before you knew that is done. So you have to accept the death of that and move into a new lifetime. Which is why I continually tell everyone, and I've told you this in other classes, I was born with a gift, okay? But I'm an ordinary guy. I didn't come into this lifetime, I told you, I came into this lifetime resisting it. Resisting enlightenment because I didn't want to live an enlightened life. Why? Because I knew I'd have to give up everything. And I don't mean possessions, that's just stuff. I'd have to give up me. I'd have to give up what I want. I'd have to give up everything that really mattered to a self and become selfless. And that's what this journey has become. I'm a conduit. I'm a presence. A lot more than I'm a person. Do I eat? Do I drink? Do I go poo-poo and all that? Yeah, but you know what? That's just the form. I have no control over that. That's just what it is. So just be with that, and read through the chapter, but be with that whole idea of free will and how you get to the point where there isn't. And I felt like I did a good job in connecting with you all and understanding why I can say there is no free will, and why people say, well, there's always a choice, and why I can say to them, well, for you there is. But when you get to the point where you know with good certainty what's in the highest good to do, then what's in the highest good is your choice. Well, isn't that a choice? No, that's a surrender. That's a surrender. Well, isn't surrender a choice? Well, when it's the only thing, is it a choice? We're stretching it here. You know what I mean?
It's like if it's a foregone conclusion, is it really?
Right. It's like saying, well, I'm going to die and that's a choice. No, you're going to die and there's no choice about it. Well, but I'm choosing. Well, no, you're not. At that point, it isn't a choice. That's when it's just the final choice you make is the surrender and saying, I give up. There's really no choice. I'm just going to do what's best with my life and find out what I'm really meant to experience. And it's magical. It's amazing. It's nothing you could have ever imagined. It's better than you could have ever planned. Doesn't mean it's not going to have its letting go, but it'll be better than you ever planned. So just be with that. And just ponder it, and there's going to be a lot of stuff in you, and some of you that's going to be like, oh yeah, but, and you'll go along with your yeah buts, but if you just continue to practice, you get to the point where you realize there's just what God would do, and you just do it. And that doesn't mean you get walked all over, and it doesn't mean you let people treat you badly. Actually, it means, you're completely balanced. In the moment, you see what's going on, you receive information about how God wants you to be, and you just become that. And then when that moment's over, that's over. And then you look at the next situation, and you look at what's going on, and God guides you and how to be. And you're just holding that space of love and peace and compassion and truth. And that's like it's almost like if we were going to make a bunch of different flavors of something, okay, the base is love, peace, compassion, truth, acceptance, all right? So those are always, it's almost like carrots, celery, and onions. It's always in the recipe, right? But then, God will take that recipe in certain situations, and without you having free will, you'll just feel yourself just become it. You'll just feel yourself just become it. Because there's nothing in you to stop it, do you understand? Because one of the biggest things free will says is, stop, no. I can't do that. That goes against what I believe. Okay, but that looks like resistance to me. And life will be ever eternally patient and keep showing you the same things again and 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 again until you go, okay, I get it. It's this way, and it's going to be this way all the time from this point on. And God's going, yes. And you say, okay, I give. I'm done. You're right. I didn't understand.